All right, so I think it says streaming to our systems. Looks like I am on Twitter. Double check, because it has been over a week, I think, since I actually went live from this spot. I'm just going to double check. Good afternoon, everybody. If you're out there watching, today is Q&A Friday, and we've got some good questions that I'm going to go over, and most of these are, I believe, related to 70E. But more importantly, I've got a special guest, Robert from Omaha. Let me get. I can put you on here, Robert, so I can put your picture up, so hold on. Oh, and now it's me. I got me. Why? How did I get me? Oh, I know why. There it is. There you are.
Yeah, well, you've got my Shirley Temple side.
I got you, Shirley. There you go. Yeah, it looks good, Robert. That looks good. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody out there? Because, we've all seen you on... we all seen you commenting and adding some really valuable content and all of your knowledge, and I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. You always say, boy, Tom, I like what you do for the industry, but nobody realizes what you do for the industry. So bring it on, brother.
Well, we appreciate it so very, very much. Robert Weber from Omaha, Nebraska. I actually, just a little bit about myself, I grew up on an 18,000-acre ranch until I was 17, and I was going to be a cowboy.
Oh, wow. You were going to be a cowboy. 18,000?
Yeah, we had about 1,800 head of cattle and 350 head of horses. No farm equipment, cattle and horses. Now, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Between a farmer and a cowboy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
If you would have told me I would be doing this at 66, I would have just looked at you with disbelief.
Wow.
And of course, because of that, in high school, I didn't take trigonometry or calculus or any of that stupid stuff. I was never going to use it, right?
Yep.
In my field then, how I would count cattle is as they were coming through the gate, I would count their feet and then divide by 4.
Oh, come on. Now I know you're full of it.
Anyway, about 2006 is when I got into the teaching, training, and trying to figure out what I was doing. I've been in the field since 1973. And so that book, Hot Connections, I was learning the electrical trade through all of that. And I've got that book, by the way, and what a fantastic book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, wait. Who brought up that was Peter Grazier who brought up the Hot Connections.
Yeah. And interestingly, I've got to go back and review that again because I have been asked by the state fire investigators in September to do a 2-hour program on fire investigation, National Electrical Codes and Standards for 40 or 50 of the fire investigators for this state. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'll probably be getting a hold of you for some odds and ends of input and so forth. So
that'd be cool.
But anyway, getting back to what we're here for, I would like you at this point to go ahead and open up the box.
Okay, so now, everybody,
as you're opening that box, I just want to mention you have a number of followers, and you really do a lot for the industry. And I'm not saying that to make you have a big head. I'm just saying we need to recognize individuals who are willing to do what you're willing to do above and beyond the call of duty, like your business and who you work for and so forth, because you truly demonstrate a care. Okay. And a lot of times I've found that people don't really care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And so, I got that childproof before I sent it to you, by the way.
You sure did, man.
So like if you can't open it, get your...
Oh, hold on. I pulled my earpiece out. All right. Okay.
And as you're opening that up, It's a box within a box, and there is something in there. You don't open another box and open another box. There.
All right, so you got me little pink and white styrofoam.
Yeah, well, that's from your feminine side.
That's from my feminine side. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that. Thank you. My sweetness, right?
Yes.
Now you got to tell everybody every time you call me and I answer the phone, what is the phrase that you say?
I try, and I mean this sincerely to everybody. You are valued and appreciated for all that you do. Keep up the good work. Now, it is amazing when you recognize people. If you did something incorrectly, people would come out of the woodwork. Isn't that true?
Oh, yeah.
No shortage.
Yeah.
But when you do something good for the industry or good for somebody else, it goes unnoticed, it seems like. So I make it a habit of trying to recognize people's good points and their good qualities right off the bat and let them know that each person I shake their hand, they know something I don't. It's valuable to me.
Well, that's cool. That's very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
Are you ready?
I got a white box in front of me now.
Open it up. Now, everybody that's watching this, Tom is taking a real big challenge here. Now hold that up.
Man. You know, you're right. This was a very big challenge because I don't know what's in here, and when I tell you, I hate to not know what I'm going to open up.
Well, hold it up. Take
look
a look
at that.
We can't see it because the virtual. Hold it in front of you.
Oh, you know what? They can. You can't. I'll turn the background off on my other thing here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what they're seeing is a little different than what you are seeing. Where's that at? Settings. If I go to settings. Nope. I was trying to change the. I can't. Huh.
Well, that's okay. That is a small token of appreciation. Would you read it?
Okay, I'm going to read it. All right. I've got a major award. Oh, wait. It's this way. So I had it wrong. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
All right. I had it backwards the last time. So it says Thomas Dimitrovich, outstanding instructor in electrical safety, in an inaugural award.
That's right. And it's for the year 2022. So you are the first to receive it. The award is named after you. And my thoughts on this, with your permission and with everybody else's permission, not only to present that to you in appreciation for what you do, but we can also do that to others in the industry that you deem
cool, or
that others deem. And each year we can have one or two people that small award is given to recognize their excellence in kind of patterning themselves after your example, not after you, but your example.
I like it.
As they do for the safety and industry and so forth. So
yeah,
that was just meant not to embarrass you, but just to recognize, hey, we really appreciate what you're doing. And I was going to have everybody that's on your program here watching give a thumbs up if they agree with the award.
Hey, we got Ryan Jackson. We got Doug Hostetler. Did you see this, Ryan? And you know what, Ryan, to your point, Robert, a lot of people do what I do and what we do, including yourself and more, right? So Ryan Jackson's one of those guys.
And so where it says inaugural award, the next one that you present will have the name of the person that you present it to. So
that's cool.
Mr. Mitrovich, Award of Excellence in Electrical Safety, presented to John Smith or whoever.
Yeah.
It could be another one for this year. It could be for next year. Just kind of a.
That's pretty cool.
What do you call it? It's kind of a.
I don't know.
Just a demonstration of appreciation.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, Robert.
Well, I hope you keep taking my phone calls, number one.
Yeah, amen. I will. I don't stop. That's the truth.
And so, was that as bad as you thought it was going to be?
I didn't know what I knew it was safe because I know you. I know you would, but I wasn't sure what the heck you were going up for. Chris Cleveland, excellent. Thanks for joining us. And Doug Hosteller, cool beans. But yeah, this is kind of cool. I really appreciate the recognition. You are the man.
I tried to get something that wasn't gaudy or outlandish.
No, it's perfect.
Something that was silent but elegant, if you will.
Yeah. I'll make sure I'm gonna have to put this. I gotta put it like somewhere here. I actually right up on top here. I have a couple things. So
and so for others out there as we go along, they too can have an award.
That's right. We got to make a list. We have to make a list, sort of like the Buck 41 Club, you know.
Something similar to that, not to take the place of it, but
no, you're right. You're right, though. But the Buck 41 Club is a little bit different because some of those individuals may not do any types of educational activities, but they are making change in the industry in other ways. So, but yeah, there should be a recognition because a lot of what we do, you know, we don't get paid for a lot of the hours that you put into all of this, and you do it like you say out of the goodness of your heart because you save lives. People ask me, "What do I do for a living?" I say, "I save lives," and it sounds, you know, sounds like you go, "Oh, yeah, okay, you save lives," you know. But
only to those who recognize the import of it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you're trying to reach because they're in the industry, and they're doing the same thing. But a lot of them don't really recognize, you know, it's the little things that count. Like I said, people don't really care how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Yeah, you're right.
And teaching and training and instructing. You know, if you could read a book, thank a teacher. If you could read a book at night, thank an electrician.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you could read a book at night, thank an electrician.
Yeah, and then of course you got to thank the individuals who made the breakers and the fuses. Yeah, we know.
Everybody. Anyway, it's everybody involved. That's the key thing. That's the cool thing about our electrical industry is everybody plays a role in electrical. I just did a 70E class, and I know you teach 70E, and Ryan out there teaches these things. And when a lot of people say, well, you know, I can't, how do I propagate this message? And then sometimes it's in your actions, right? It's when you get in a car and you put your seatbelt on and that motivates other people to put their seatbelts on. It's talking to your friends and cohorts about things you learned and share. That's how I learn, right? Yeah. So we all learn that and then we share it. So, you know, a lot of people.
That teaching moment that you talked about where you showed the explosion or the arc flash and then the look of horror on the guy's face as he realizes that could happen to me.
Yeah.
That teaching moment, yes. That is why PPE is the last on the list, because it's not going to stop plasma and breaker parts and all that other stuff. In fact, there's no guarantee you're not going to get burned at all.
That's exactly right. And we had that discussion in our class this week, that exact discussion. And they said, when you say, boy, wow, you know, we have an explosion, you think, geez, yeah, do you want to be standing in front of that explosion with your personal protective equipment? Because we had Scott Margolin in who talked about what PPE really does for you and that it, you know, it prevents the incurable burn. It doesn't handle arc blast and all this other good stuff. And then one of the guys in the audience says, well, you know, what am I wearing it for? Or you know, to your point, that teaching moment, right? So you go back to the hierarchy risk controls and you go elimination, substitution, engineering controls, awareness, administrative controls, and then PPE. And so you better do steps 1 through 5 first before you rely on your PPE.
Well, that's why they moved that in 110 to the front, the priority. All of that other stuff, it was in 120 and 130 because they want you to do that stuff first.
Yeah.
And once you get through all of that stuff, if you don't realize all of a sudden that this is serious, you better, I mean, you know, because all these other steps need to be first. And that is exactly why.
Yep. So another question, I don't know how much time you have, but a couple of the questions that I had that came up. The qualified person, okay? So, excuse me, So one of the questions that came up, especially during the training this week, and I'm going to put this right in front of me. One of the questions that came up this week was, who determines the qualified person, right? So, and And that's a very valid and a very good question, because you sit down and say, whose responsibility is it? Is it my responsibility? Is it my boss's responsibility? Now, we went to Article 105, which is the application of safety-related work practices and procedures. 105.3 tells the responsibilities, right? So we said the employer shall have the following responsibilities. 1, establish, document, and implement the safety-related work practices and procedures required by the standard. And 2, provide employees with training in the employer's safety-related work practices and procedures. So the employer has to provide the training. Now, you do training. Who do you do training for typically?
Well, some of like Facebook and Google and a big company here, Miller Electric and so forth, to their trainers. Okay.
Right.
And so let me give you just a little spiel on this qualified person, because this comes up a lot. And the one that qualifies the person is ultimately going to be the owner, because he's going to be liable and responsible for anything and everything that happens. OSHA holds him liable for recognizing hazards, blah, blah, blah. So interestingly, if you look at the definition of a qualified person in NFPA 70, NFPA 70E, NFPA 70B, OSHA 1910-399, they all pretty much say within about 30 some words the gist of what a qualified person is. Now, number one, they have to have skills and knowledge. So I stop at class and say, can you read a book or watch a video and have knowledge? Yes. Do you have skills? No, skills have to be acquired by the application of your knowledge. So skills and knowledge on the construction and equipment. And I love the way 70E puts it, and has received safety training to recognize and reduce the hazards, because there's some that you can't avoid.
Well, it says identify the hazards and reduce the risk, right? And you have to understand, what is risk? Risk is likelihood and severity.
Yes. And so that reducing that risk. So then if you go to 110.6 in NFPA 70E, there, that whole section gives you 380 words on what a qualified person is. So how do you determine that? You measure. Those are benchmarks, measure marks. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of guys have some or the other, but a qualified person will meet all of that criteria, right?
Right, yeah.
So now the employer has something that he can use to measure up and make that determination. Is it going to be perfect? No. But trying and making a mistake is one thing. Totally blowing it off and ignoring it is totally something else.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we got Gustavo Sanchez. Thanks for joining us, Gustavo. Good to see you online. We are having a blast. So here's the other thing that, to your point, Robert, in 105.3 says the employers has that responsibility. And also in 105.3, we can't overlook that the employee has a responsibility to comply with the safety-related work practices and procedures provided by the employer, right? Now, qualified person in 110.6A talks about your electrical safety-related training. One is your qualified person, which demonstrates you have to have the hands-on. It's more than just a YouTube watching. You can't watch a YouTube video and say, I'm qualified, right? So in 110.6A5, it says that the employer shall document that each employee has received the training required by 110.6A, which is your electrical safety training, which includes all the other stuff that we just talked about. This documentation shall be in accordance with the following: be made when the employee demonstrates proficiency. Yep. So if I wanted to say drive a Mack truck, right, an 18-wheeler, I could probably take an online class, but I need to demonstrate my proficiency in. I wonder how hard it would be to parallel park an 18-wheeler. What do you think?
I would say it depends.
I'd need depends in my process.
That is my standard answer to pretty much everything. Any code question, whatever, it depends. What's the ambient temperature? What's the equipment? What are you using for? Who's doing it? Blah, blah, blah. Isn't that the truth? So if you go down there to 110 or .6a, and the bottom of the page there where it talks about how to qualify a person.
Yeah.
And they have to be under the direct supervision. But there's some words in there. We got to always pay attention to every single word, every single letter, every single comma. Because it says, if these individuals, number one, are receiving the training to become a qualified person and has demonstrated to his or her capability a certain level, because isn't it true, there's some people that just shouldn't have a screwdriver in their hand. Yeah. It's not their fault. They just shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and then under the direct supervision, they can then be considered a qualified person under that criteria. And that's how the workers train other workers and so forth. So that whole 110.6, the reason I said the whole section is it's A, B, C, and D, because there's more to it than just the actual work. What about if somebody gets in trouble? Did they have a rescue hook? Did they know how to use it? Did they know how to use an AED? A qualified person then is not an experienced person necessarily.
Right.
But it meets the definition. Experience is a part of it. You know, a certification is a part of it. But you have to meet all of those to a reasonable degree to be considered a qualified person. And if we don't understand that, Tom, isn't it true that a prosecuting attorney will?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know that. They dig that stuff up, don't they? That's what they're paid for. Absolutely. So here's another question.
We don't want to hurt anybody.
No, absolutely. And we got Mark Rogers out there. So here's another question that came in. Test instruments. Where in 70E does it require? You know, where do we use test instruments? We use test instruments when we're establishing an electrically safe work condition. So we have to test. We test a known good. Test this, what we want to determine.
Live, dead, live.
Right. So it's live, dead, live. Right. So that test instrument, where in 70E does it tell you it needs to be calibrated? So go ahead. Do you have what are your thoughts on that before I'll walk you through where I found in
I'm going to give you a secret, and it's 2 words.
What's that?
2 words that for everything, I don't care what you have a question on. I don't care if you're wanting to figure out how to maintain equipment or anything. Manufacturer's instructions.
Oh,
they will tell you when to calibrate it, how to calibrate it, who's going to calibrate it, how to maintain it, and who reads the instructions?
Well, yeah, that's what they call that dumpster diving. But where in 70E? So let me tell you my journey on this, okay? So here's where I went to answer this question on where in 70E would it reference that things need to be calibrated. So the first thing is, from a calibration perspective, I went to Article 250, right? So 250 is your is personnel safety and protective equipment. So I'm thinking, okay, there probably is something in there. And 250.1 says personal safety and protective equipment, such as the following, shall be maintained in a safe working condition, and test instruments is number 4 on the list. So now that still doesn't give me the calibration. It just says it has to be in a safe working condition. So to be working doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be calibrated, right? So, but it's the first reference. 250.4 says, it's titled test instruments. Test instruments and associated test leads used to verify the absence or presence of voltage shall be maintained to assure functional integrity. The maintenance program shall include functional verification as described in 110.8E. And if I go to 110.8E, it says operation verification. When test instruments are used for testing the absence of voltage on conductors or circuit parts operating at voltages equal to or greater than 50 volts, the operation of the test instrument shall be verified on any known voltage source before and after the present. So that still doesn't get you to the calibration, right? So 250 gave me the feel that, okay, I need to make sure it's functional. Now, 205. Then I went to 205. What is 205? Chapter 2 is maintenance. So 205 is general requirements. 205.3, general maintenance requirements. Electrical equipment shall be maintained in accordance with manufacturer's instructions. Exactly what you said. Yep. Or industry consensus standards to reduce the risk associated with failure. The equipment owner or the owner's designated representative shall be responsible for maintenance of the electrical equipment and equipment. Now, informational note number 1 says common industry practice is to apply test or calibration decals to equipment to indicate the test or calibration date and overall condition. So that's where you get it. It's in 205.3. And to your point, so if I would go to, for example, if I go to Fluke calibration, right? So Fluke is a very reputable, common. So if I go to a Fluke calibration, what would you put that? Instructions?
Well,
product manuals.
Thomas, a lot of those instructions are right on the meter itself, isn't that true?
You might be right.
I mean, and to that point, 110.3b says to use things in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions.
Yep.
And a lot of times, isn't it true that it might take more than one standard or code to get an answer? That's why there's so many different ones. They all bring a little bit to the table, right? In terms of industry practice and so forth. But did you find it?
Well, I found a user's guide for the 9142. There's a technical guide. Let me look at statement of memory. I'd love to find something on here. Oh, calibration. Here it is. 15.8. Okay, so calibration. Let's take a look at what this says. And then there's a supplement. This is a temperature scanner, but
part of being a qualified person is you understand the PPE and the equipment that you're going to be using, whether it's a rescue hook, whether it's a screwdriver, a test instrument, or whatever. And so in general, that's what it's talking about in 110.6 in terms of being a qualified person. You're certainly not going to send somebody out onto a racetrack that knows how to drive.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to know the car. He's got to know all kinds of different stuff before he begins to get behind the wheel.
Yeah, and it looks like Fluke apparently has Fluke calibration. They have a regular website. So you register your product, and it looks like they walk you through to make sure the product is calibrated. So
and we got to remember that calibration thing doesn't mean that, when the codes have said, like NFPA 70, that it has to be, calibrated tool. It actually, what it's saying is it has to be tested. That's what that certificate is for, that it's been tested. If it's been tested and it's calibrated, it's fine. If it's been tested and it's not, then yes, you have to calibrate it.
Yeah. So
we're not requiring to have that calibration every single year, which wouldn't be a bad idea, because how many people drop their meters around the back of a car or van?
But that was the other thing was the one individual in the audience made the statement that they have to calibrate it annually and you have to hit that date, right? Mm-hmm. So
well, they have to test it annually for calibration.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But here's the issue. You might have to do it earlier because of exactly what you said. If I drop that, if I mistreat the tool, then it may lose its calibration. Now, torque is a little different, but torque needs calibrated. Your torque wrenches need calibrated as well. So, but there are a lot of aspects, and to your point, manufacturer's instructions will help you understand How often do you need to calibrate? When, what are the trigger points for calibration? I can't find, and I'd have to find
Well, you know what they have in all of those instructions and on those websites normally? They have what's called an 800 number. And you can call free of charge and ask for the electrical engineer or somebody and have a conversation with them. Now, is that a requirement? Well, we're not saying it's a requirement. We're just saying, hey, if you want some information, where do you go? You go to the person that manufactured it. Right. They're going to tell you what to look out. If you ask the right questions and say, what am I looking at? What am I doing here? So a qualified person is going to want to do that. He's going to know that should be part of, he needs to know what's going on, right?
Yeah, so here's a fluke model, 175, 177, 179, true RMS. On their website, they have a low 10% off coupon. they have the information, they have the features and everything, but if you scroll down, there is a calibration manual, okay? And it says, it talks about all the information about, the batteries and stuff like that. And then they have how to contact Fluke and to prevent possible electric shock. There's all that good stuff. I'm looking for there's the display, the battery life. What I'm looking for, Robert, is like a frequency. How often test the fuses. So they have fuses inside there. Replace the fuses, replace the battery. They talk about maintenance, how to clean the product, replacing, if you have to replace the LCD. There's performance test. A Fluke 5500 multi-product calibrator is required for the performance test procedures. If an equivalent calibrator is used, it must meet the accuracy specifications shown in Table 2. So, and they give you all the different, but I'm looking for the prepare. I'm looking for the durations, like how often. Now, Damora, DAMORAFIK says, the channel gives precious information related to electrical engineering. We try, and I got Robert Weber here helping me. And then it says, one of my veteran coworkers in the switchgears told me that they always something about a chain to confirm that everything is dead because he only trusts his chain. Oh man, that's how they. Now you don't want to throw the chain on it because that can initiate an arc flash. You just don't want to do that.
You ought to always test before touch, test before touch, no matter who you are. There was an old expression on a company had one time: "Never trust your mother."
Yeah. You know what? Someone else just used that. Never trust your mother.
In other words, even if your worker next to you says, "Oh, it's dead," you always test before touch. Make it a habit. You have to make it a habit.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, you know what? I'm searching for frequencies, frequency counters.
You're searching for something specific wording in writing that tells them, there's no thinking involved. There's no, they have to have specific, words and so forth. That's what we've been reduced to. But in any event, we can get the general idea from what you've seen so far and what's MD and everybody. This is important.
Yep. So now
come up directly, but it's important.
Yep. So we know that you're going to need to calibrate your equipment. 70E references that, and 70E tells us to do that. And in Article 205, general maintenance, and this would be maintenance of your test equipment. And to your point, Robert, it follows manufacturer's instructions. Now, the next question. We're getting on 1234. So this will be my last one because I'm taking Bobby Joe to get some fish today. So it's now verify, test, verify. All right. So let's talk about that. Remember it was 105. I'm sorry. Not 105. In two, what was the number? What's the test?
205.3 or whatever. 110.8.
Yeah, 110.8. That's the number I was looking for. 110.8 is the one and I think it's 110.8. Is it E or F? E? Yeah, E. 110.8E says that you're supposed to shall be verified on any known voltage source. So here's the question, which I don't know yet the answer to this one. When you verify, test, verify, I think I do know the answer, and I can't remember where it's at in here. I didn't write the section down. If you have phase A, B, and C, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I verify a known good? Measure voltage on phase A and then verify the meter, or can I verify that my meter is good, test A, B, and C, and then verify my meter again after I do that? Do I have to check my meter in between each phase, or can I do it at the end of doing all three of those?
We look forward to your public input.
No, I know.
That's a great question. Now,
Yep.
You can answer that two ways. What does the code say, or what does the standard say, or what is best practice? If you're, I can't think of anybody being way too safe. Can you? Now, granted, it might not be likely that your meter would fail testing phase to phase or phase to ground after each one. But if it might not be probable, but if it's possible.
Yeah, but put it this way: with what would have to happen if I test it, if I verify my meter is working, and then I do A, B, and C, and then verify it again, what would have to happen is it would have to fail, give me a false reading, start working again.
Yeah.
Right? It would have to fail and then start working again, which I think would
likelihood of occurrence.
Yeah.
And severity of hazard. Simple principle to follow. And if you look at parenthetical E, Tom, if you look at 110.8, parenthetical E on page 19, remember that it says to test it on equal to the voltage that you're testing as close as you can, because if you're doing this test on a 120 volt circuit, now you're testing 480 or 277.
Well, but does it say it has to be equal to? No, it says when test instruments are used for testing the absence of voltage on conductors or circuit parts operating at voltages equal to or greater than 50 volts, the operation of the test equipment shall be verified on any known voltage source. It doesn't say of the same voltage. So I wouldn't want to expose an electrical worker.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you can, and because I've had this question before where they say, do I have to say find another 480 volt circuit, or can I create another source that is much less voltage and still say, okay, this meter is working correctly? And I think that E lets you do that. But and I did find, I thought we found somewhere in this document that supported the perspective that you don't have to test after every single, like each phase. So that would mean I would have to test a known good, check phase A, test a known good, test a known good, check phase B, test a known good. You don't have to do that, and I can't remember where it is in this document. And
I'll have to do some research on that too, because that's a good question. Likelihood of occurrence and severity would come into play. But again, a lot of stuff, these codes and standards seem to be bare minimums. We can always do better than the bare minimum, but it's not code to do best practice all the time.
Right. Yeah. So now here's the other one along the same lines, and this will be the last one. I said the last one was the last one. Now this is truly the last one. Those proximity testers, right?
Yeah, you got to be grounded to use them, right?
Well, you do, but here's the thing. How do I test phase to phase or phase to ground?
See, that was the issue, right? And those absence of voltage testers that you put into electrical equipment after the fact, where you do voltage measurement. I think UL 1463, is that the criteria that has to meet for the live dead live thing?
I think so, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on your sensitivity to living, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig that one up too. But there was a concern about those proximity sensors and be able to meet the requirements of testing, say, phase to phase, phase to ground, when you're not really doing anything in relationship to anything. You're just bringing it into proximity. And how do I discern phase A, B, and C, because I'm so close to other things? So
Yeah, if you go to 120.5 on page 23 and look at the exceptions and look at the informational notes, there's a bunch of information on those testers that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was 120.5. That's right. That was verifying.
Parenthetical 7, I think, is where that, and then it says exception 1 to 7, exception 2 to 7, and then there's informational notes 1 to.
There it is. 7 in 7.
Okay.
120.57. Use an adequately rated portable test instrument to test each phase conductor or circuit part to test for the absence of voltage. Test each phase conductor or circuit part both
Okay.
phase to phase and phase to ground.
Yep.
Before and after. So I don't think you can do that with some of these test items, and I'm really struggling with that one. Now, Ryan,
that's for some of those exceptions. That was, I did a little bit of research on it. That's where I got that UL 1436 standards and so forth. They're cautioning you in this information here.
Yeah.
That if you're using those things, it's great for voltage measurement, but for absence of voltage, for an electrically safe work condition, now you've kind of crossed into another zone, and we're doing this not to measure voltage, but this is our life type of thing, and hazard and so forth. So that takes a little bit of chewing on it and doing some investigation to understand what's going on there. But that was my take on what they were trying to. So in other words, you can't just go out. Most of these voltage measurement units you can buy and add later on.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And it makes it safer. Yeah. But it's not really recognized as the absence of voltage test.
There is one manufacturer who does have a listed product that's recognized as absence of voltage.
Can we use names?
Yeah. Do you remember who it is?
There's Grace Technologies and Panduit.
Panduit. So Grace, I think there's a battle going on between those two companies, I believe.
Yeah.
I think what was the second one? It's Panduit. I think Panduit has a listing for their product. Grace, I don't think Grace has that same listing. I'd have to. You know what we got to do? I got to get some people from those organizations on to talk about their products.
Absolutely.
That's what I got to do, because I'm anything I say, I'm talking out of where, because I'm not as familiar with those products, so I don't want to say anything.
Never give an answer off the top of your head unless you're ready to give the top of your head.
There you go. That's exactly right. Absolutely. And Ryan said, he says he bought a proving unit for his meter to verify it. He goes, but others want to know if they can just test their truck battery for proof of the meter. And there's not, all you need to do is figure out, you got to find a voltage source. I mean, I could take a meter, if my meter is working on 480 and I can adjust it to 120. Mm-hmm. If I can test a 120 volt receptacle, I'm proving the meter is working, and then go and do my 480. So I think that what you don't want to do is expose an electrical worker to another 480 volt source to test that meter at 480 when they don't have to. Yeah. So
by the same token, you wouldn't want to do a 9-volt battery then to make sure that the meter's working.
Right. Yeah.
Even though there's a 9-volt battery in it.
You touch your tongue first, and then you touch the meter. You know what? I just said that, and my mouth has that tinny taste to it now.
Yeah. At some point offline, I'll tell you an account of what happened on a Navy apprentice electrician.
Oh boy!
About 1946. So
anyway, cool beans. All right, so Robert, I have to. We're going to cut this one short, and I really appreciate that. In case anybody didn't see this, but I got an award from Robert Weber. I really appreciate it. The Outstanding Instructor in Electrical Safety Inaugural Award, and I have a feeling there's more to come on this.
Yeah,
because of
it's not just from me. I want this. That was part of why this presentation, all out there who agree with this, somehow let Tom know this is from us in general. And you can see it's not gaudy, it's not big, it's just a small token. And to anybody else that you give that award to, this is our appreciation. So it's not just from me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Excellent. I appreciate the recognition, and I appreciate everything you do for electrical safety, Robert, because I know you do a lot. So thank you, sir. Awesome. All right, man. Well, we're going to call it a day.
Remember these words, Tom. Sumo wrestling is not for the faint of heart. So.
Just saying, right?
Just saying.
All right. Well, thank you, Robert. And I'm going to call it a day here. All right. I'm going to sign off with you. Okay, brother?
All right. Take care.
Take care, Robert. Take care. All right. End the call for everyone. Well, whoops. Yeah, I'm still live. All right, everybody. Listen, Q&A Friday. I loved having Robert on, and he is the man. I really appreciate everything that every one of you do for electrical safety. Ryan Jackson, Doug Hostetler, Gustavo Sanchez, Demorific. I'm just saying what your name is on there. Mark Rogers, Chris Cleveland in the house. So thanks for joining in. Hopefully you are going to have a great weekend, and hopefully you had a great St. Patty's Day yesterday. So I'm going to sign off and get back to work. So remember to stay safe, and please stay healthy. Until next week, I am signing off. All right, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Ryan.